Everyone, welcome to CrushonCovers, and thank you so much for joining me for another character creature designs with character creature design. All right, and I know it's gonna be like May and it's Mermaid Month and so forth, so I decided to kickstart that off and jump right into my mermaid. Well, she's a little bit mysterious, so I tried to give her unusual skin texture. I'm using the Ohuhu paper, the one that I just got, testing it out different from the arches, just to see how that would hold up on the gouache. So we'll just see how that work out. So I'm adding layers and layers onto her skin. So I don't want it to look like a regular, normal skin texture because she's a mermaid, right? So this is me experimenting and playing around with skin texture, just trying to give her something different than what we're normally used to seeing. All right, so I hope it turns out good. So I'm not hoping it. In my eyes, it did turn out good. Not exactly as I'd expected because it's an experiment, but it was pretty okay for me. I mean, it's something that I'm learning too as well. All right, so if you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead, hit that subscription bell, and thank you for sharing. As well as if you love gouache like me, go ahead and get your brushes and let's do some work together. And as I mentioned before, always apologizing for my light, still working on that, hoping I will get a better camera soon so I can stop having the lights flicker. It is quite annoying, but you know what, it gets the job done. I wanted something to just make sure you can actually see. So it flickers. I apologize. I'm sure you can still see it without, even if it flickers. So, but still my apologies. All right, guys. All right, so this mermaid, she is quite a fantasy mermaid, meaning she's not your typical mermaid. She's actually a creature. So I mentioned the word CHARA-CREATURE. That means it's a character design. So she's a creature and design, creature design. So it's almost like you want to make her a person, but she's also a creature. All right, so that's the idea. So her face is like a kitty cat. She's also have arms like human, and then she's got a fish portion of her like the fish, so cat, fish, and human. So that ends up making her a character creature design, and I call for short character, not character like the cartoon version of a person or something, but creature. All right, that's my thing. I said it, I named it. Okay, so these are my creature designs, and I hope you will be enjoying them. They're always, well, not always, so I'm starting off in postcard size, and I hope to get them on print. So if you like them on a t-shirt, you like them on a book cover, a laptop case, a pouch, and you're just an art fan and you want to print, I'll try and make it available on my Redbubble, so you can go ahead and get your print if you like. Alrighty, thank you so much for your support. And here I am adding another layer, which is like some green to her skin. I'm trying to mimic the water as well, because she's living in the depths of the water, right? It's not like it's shallow and everything's nice and blue. You have dark, deep, mysterious places under the sea. Absolutely. And it gets spooky too. So she's kind of a mysterious fantasy creature. This painting took me about 3 hours, 2.5 hours, because I actually worked on it, and it takes some time. Plus I'm working with the Ahuhu water paper, and it's my first time working with it, so I didn't know what to expect, and I wanted to allow the layers to dry. I will say for the Ahuhu paper, it feels thick coming right out of the pad, but when I'm layering and I'm layering, it doesn't dry as fast on as like when I'm using the arches, which soak up the water right away. This pad, if I'm adding layers on top of layers like consistently, it tends to want to pool the water first, and then it takes a little bit of time to dry. Unlike the arches, it soaks it up quickly right away, and it just you can add layers quickly, or I'd say faster when I'm using the arches as opposed to the Ahuhu. Not making a comparison video here, but just based on what I'm used to, as opposed to something brand new, something that you can identify with. And I'm sure almost everyone has tried to use the arches or have a sample of it, because it's one of the best paper out there when you're doing watercolors. So I found it a little bit, not say challenging, but just I had to wait a little bit more. Going forward, seeing that it is my first time, maybe when I'm using it again, because I have a little bit more knowledge of how this paper operates, I'll be able to probably work a little bit faster, because I'm sure this mermaid shouldn't take 2.5 hours. Well, it depends, right? All right, so I'm adding layers. I'm not sure what I wanted her hair to do. I wanted to do a little bit of blending. Of course, it also means that sometimes when you're working and you're not in the mood to do certain things, it's almost like you lose all your ability to create colors and do blending. It's like I'm struggling. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's not working out. And mark you, it's a brand new paper too, right? So maybe with my artist, it would have soaked it up a long time and just dry faster, so I'm able to add layers on top of layers and get a nice blend in. But it didn't work out like that for me with the hair, so I had to take my time. After making a blunder, I figured that this isn't gonna work. You know, the highlights are not kicking in as I wanted them to. So as the saying goes in my culture, whatever spoils, it's a style. All right, so if it spoils and you can make it into a style, go ahead for it. So that's what I ended up doing. So she's got like fire red, orange hair, and I'm like, later on you'll see I have to tone it down a little bit, but it turned out awesome in my point of view, and it makes it a little bit more mysterious. So that's why I like gouache too, because you can cover a lot of stuff when you have a nice blend of gouache, as opposed to if you're using ink or some other art paint medium. It's probably a little bit difficult, but gouache is forgiving and it can definitely cover up a lot of flaws or errors. All right, so I'm working on her skin texture. She looks pretty dark and like evil, right? But no, it turned out really, really good. It almost reminds me of like Monster High kind of girls when they turn creatures into the ocean, something like that. And I'm like, not bad. Maybe I'm reading those books too much, but no, it ended up really well. So as I mentioned before, if you have not subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscription button. Look out for more CHARA-CREATURE. And yeah, so instead of me talking, I've been reading this book from John Maxwell. He's a pastor, yes, but he also does lots of leadership book and self-growth inspirational videos. You can see him on YouTube, as well as he does I don't know if he's done TED Talks, but he's a well-known international motivational speaker, but more so on leadership and self-growth. And I've bought this book. It's called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And I'll just read a little bit a piece from it. It's just an inspiration for yourself. So because we're learning and we're artists and we want to grow, it starts with us. Self-growth, we have to apply all of these things to ourselves. When we are trying to be a leader, we have to learn to lead ourselves first. If we can't lead ourselves, it makes no sense trying to teach someone or lead somebody, because you need to have that discipline for yourself. You must practice what you preach, all right, or preach what you practice. So if you do it, you are not going to be a hypocrite inspiring someone with something when you don't have faith in it, right? So you gotta apply it to yourself first. Hence, I'm gonna read a little bit a clip here so you can actually relate. All right, hang on. All right, so here I'm at about chapter 4, and it talks about the law of reflection. Learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. Following effective action with quiet reflection. From the quiet reflection will come even more reflective action, and that's from Peter F. That's Drucker. Peter F. Drucker said that quote. So there are many different ways of growing and an infinite number of lessons to be learned in life. But there are some kinds of growth that come to us only if we are willing to stop, pause, and allow the lesson to catch up with us. I experienced one of those in March of 2011. He's going to give us a synopsis of that. A change in paradigm. I was traveling on an extended speaking trip, and I landed in Kyiv, Ukraine, on one of my stops. While I was there, I was scheduled to speak 3 times to a group of about 5,000 business people. I had been to Kyiv several times before and enjoyed both the place and the people. But an hour before the first scheduled event, I met my Ukrainian translator, who chatted a while so we could get to know each other. And a few minutes into our conversation, he said, "I've read several of your books. You say that you want to add value to people, but that's not easy here. People don't trust leaders, and with good reason. Leaders don't add value to others here." Then he added, "I sure hope you can help them." His words left quite an impression on me, and what he told me prompted me to recall conversations with my good friend Jim Doran, the leader of Network 21, an organization that works in many of the countries that were once behind the Iron Curtain. Jim had told me that in any country where the government was crooked and the leaders were crooked and selfish, being able be able to circumvent authority and work in the system were seen as virtues. Because I still had a little time before I had to speak, I went to the green room so I could pause and reflect on what I had just learned. I was feeling emotional, and I wanted to take time to let my thinking catch up to my feelings. So I started to ask myself some questions. How was I feeling? The answer was sad. Living under communist rule for generations had beaten people down, discouraged them, and made them cynical. It's hard get ahead when you have little hope. So it's hard to get ahead when you have little hope. What could I do? I asked. I could show them my heart. For some of these people, perhaps no leader had ever told them he cared about them and wanted them to succeed. Or, how could I do that? I couldn't let them know that I knew what their situation was and felt for them. I could tell them that I would just be like them if I had grown up in that environment. But that there is a higher road for a leader, one where leaders add value to others. I could help them understand that even if they had never been valued by their leaders, they could become leaders who added value to others. They could become change agents for the future success of their country and themselves. I then took a moment and prayed, asking God to help me deliver that message with clarity and integrity. I didn't completely abandon what I planned to speak about that day. but I sure modified it for that and tailored it to my audience. And one of the first things I said, which I repeated often that first day, was, "My name is John, and I'm your friend." I said it sincerely, and I also used it to help soften some hard but humorous truths I was delivering. At first, they weren't sure how to react to that statement. After a while, they started to anticipate it. By the end of the day, when I said it, they knew a zinger was coming and they'd laughed in anticipation. And the next day, when I came in and prepared to speak, my translator said that everyone was saying the phrase to one another. That's when I realized that they understood that I was cheering them on and really wanted to help them. I'd never even, it's never enough for me to just show up and give a good speech when I've been invited to an event. Every time I speak, I want to do two things: add value to people I talk to and succeed an expectation of the person who invited me. It's likely I would have failed on both counts on this trip if I hadn't taken the time to pause, let the honest insights from my interpreter soak in, and change my agenda to match what my audience needed. The power of pausing. If you're nearly as old as I am, you may remember an old slogan once said by Coca-Cola. They called Coke the pause that refreshes. That's what reflection is to someone who desires to grow. Learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. That's the law of reflection. Here are my observations concerning the power of the pause and how reflection can help you grow. 1. Reflection turns experiences into insight. For over 2,000 years, people have been saying that experience is the best teacher. According to one expert, the earliest recorded version of this saying came from Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, who wrote, "Experience is the teacher of all things, in De Bello Civili." With all due respect, I have to disagree with that statement. Experience is not the best teacher. Evaluated experience is. The only reason Caesar was able to make that claim was because he had learned much by reflecting on his life and writing about it. There is an old joke that experience is a hard teacher because the test is given first and the lesson is given afterward. That's true, but only if the person takes time to reflect after the experience. Otherwise, you receive the test first and the lesson may never come. People have innumerable experiences every day, and many learn nothing from them because they never take the time to pause and reflect. That's why it is so important to pause and to let understanding catch up with us. I once heard that at the turn of the century, there was a boogie whip factory that had made major improvements in their manufacturing process. They made the best quality whips and they were continuing to improve them. No other manufacturer in the industry compared. There was just one problem. They were working at a time when the automobile was so it's buggy, not boogie. Buggy. They were working at a time when the automobile was being introduced, and it wasn't long before the entire nation would change to the horseless carriage. The company soon went out of business. I can't help wondering what the outcome might have been if the leaders of the company had taken the time to pause, understand what their experience was trying to teach them, and make the changes in the course they were on. 2. Everyone needs a time and a place to pause. I have yet to meet a person who doesn't benefit from pausing and reflecting. In fact, Stopping to reflect is one of the most valuable activities people can do to grow. It has much greater value to them than even motivation or encouragement. Why? Because pausing allows them to make sure they are on the right track. After all, if someone is going down the wrong road, he doesn't need motivation to speed up. He needs to stop, reflect, and change course. In my book, Thinking of a Change, I encourage people to identify or create a thinking place. Did I do that because there is some magic in having a designated place to pause and think? No, I did it because if you go to the trouble to create a place to pause and think, and you schedule the time to go there, you will probably actually use it and you will benefit from it. Most people are pretty busy. There are a lot of demands on them, and they rush from place to place trying to get things done. Along the way, they have certain experiences that are life markers. They go to a place or are part of an event or meet people that is in some way marks them for life because something important happened. Often these markers identify for them a time of transition, change, or transformation. If we don't take the time to pause and reflect, we can miss the significance of such events. Reflection allows those experiences to move from being life markers to life makers. If we pause to allow growth to catch up with us, it makes our lives better because we not only better understand the significance of what we've experienced, but we can implement changes and course corrections as a result. We are also better equipped to teach others from the wisdom we have gained. 3. Pausing with intention expands and enriches thinking. Study the lives of the great people who have made an impact on the world, and you will find them in virtually every case. They spent a considerable amount of time alone thinking. Every significant religious leader in history spent time in solitude. Every political leader who had an impact on history practiced the discipline of solitude to think and plan. Great artists spend countless hours in their studios or with their instruments, not just doing, but exploring their ideas and experiences. Most leading universities give their faculty time not only to teach, but to think, research, and write. Time alone allows people to sort through their experiences, put it into perspective, and plan for the future. If you are a leader, you can probably take the normal busyness of life and multiply it by 10. Leaders are so action-oriented and have so many responsibilities that they're often guilty of moving all the time and neglecting to stop and take time to think. Yet, this is one of the most important things leaders can do. A minute of thought is worth more than an hour of talk. I strongly encourage you to find a place to think and to discipline yourself to pause and use it because it has the potential to change your life. It can help you to figure out what's really important and what isn't. As writer and Catholic priest Henry J. M. Nouwen observed, when you are able to create a lonely place in the middle of your actions and concerns, your successes and failures slowly can lose some of their power over you. All right, and here's the brain teaser. When you are able to create a lonely place in the middle of your actions and concerns, your successes and failures slowly can lose some of their power over you. And that's by Henry J.M. Nouwen. Nouwen. All right, and here is another one. If someone is going down the wrong road, he doesn't need motivation to speed up. He needs to stop. So the thought for the whole entire chapter reading that I just read is to stop, pause, reflect, think, and then reassess. So go ahead, slow down, take some time. I know sometimes we just want to go, 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 go. But for mental, spiritual, and even our physical health, we need to take the time to think. We get more done when we think as opposed to when we keep going like a bullet train straight down, and just crashing down. When you pause and think, you're more efficient and you get lots more done as opposed to just going non-stop. All right, so I'm just here to encourage you to pause, reflect, and then start again. All right, so this book was from John Maxwell. The reading was by moi. Not the greatest, but I hope you were able to understand what I was saying. The book is The 15 Infallible Laws of Growth, and I have been reading this for quite some time. I don't read it fast. I read it really slow because I'm reflecting on every word that he's saying. So I find the lessons really comforting and they're encouraging, and I try to practice them not only in my art but also in my personal life. It is all about leadership and self-growth, and I think we should apply that to our lives no matter what area of I don't want to say study because in a school, but what area of our life we're at. Everyone's at different stages, what stage of our lives we're at. All right, so I'm back from answering the telephone. I tell you, this is what life's all about. Busy, busy, busy. So encourage you to pause and go ahead, reflect, and start again. So thank you so much for listening, watching, and doing stuff. I realize that even though we're doing art, sometimes the video is long, but if I can help somebody who likes to listen to my voice, if you do, thank you. You can actually, learn something, or I can say something to help you as opposed to just saying, the art, I add this color and that color, because I'm sure you can mix your own color or you can see what I'm doing. But a tip or two here on life's lessons, because that doesn't come with a manual. We have to learn from other people's error and mistakes and try and apply those to our life. So I think I'm going to continue doing some clips from this book, and we'll definitely so it's like sharing some life tips. All right, so thank you so much, guys. Subscribe if you have not done so. If you want this as a print, I'm going to try and get it available on my Redbubble so we can get prints and t-shirts and mugs and gifts, the whole works. All right, so thank you so much. I'm Tracy Ann, and continue to watch the video to the end. I would appreciate that very much. And we'll do some more character designs. Ciao, ciao.